Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. And what we're going to make are actually a coconut cookie, an Italian coconut cookie. Now, if you're looking for Italian cookies, I have several recipes. I have S cookies. I have the Angetta, which is the pink and the white cookies. I have sesame seed. You name it, I've got a lot of Italian cookie recipes. So if you don't like this one or don't have a use for it, please check out my channel for the rest of my cookies or Italian cookies that I have, okay? All right. I'm going to go through every ingredient and clearly, because I no longer put my ingredients to the recipe below the video. And so let's start off with the dry ingredients. First off, you're going to be needing, excuse me, all-purpose flour, and you're going to need 4 cups of all-purpose flour. Now, you're also going to be needing 4 teaspoons of baking powder. I'll probably get somebody maybe to write and say, are you sure you said 4? Yes, 4 teaspoons of baking powder in the 4 cups of flour, okay? And then I'm just going to give it a little stir here with my spoon, and then I'm going to set it aside for the moment. Let's start working on the wet ingredients, okay? First off, we're going to start off with a ½ pound of butter, okay? I've had it at room temperature, and I've cut it up in small pieces. I just want to move that paddle out of the way here, because it's quicker for the video and it's easier to cream it and break it up. So that's what I'm going to do now, is just to turn. Now, you can use your hand mixer for this recipe if you want. Again, I know I repeat it all the time, but it's necessary that I do repeat it. I'm going to use my stand-up because I prefer it, and it's quicker and easier for the videos. So we'll start to break up the butter. Now, once I do that, I'm going to slowly start adding granulated sugar. So you need a ½ cup. Now, it really depends whether you're going to be using a hand mixer or a stand-up, you know, the speed, but you'll want to stay with it till it all creams together. I like to get to the sides and the bottom of my bowl, and I want to warn you about the sound of the mixer. It can be loud, so I'm going to warn you about the sound. Now, once you cream that and it's well combined and it's light and it's fluffy, and spend, you know, 2 or 3 minutes, it really depends, maybe a little longer, maybe shorter. Again, I don't know the power of your mixer and that kind of thing, but just so that it's light and fluffy and it's really well mixed, okay? You're also going to be needing 6 eggs, a ½ dozen of eggs. They've been also at room temperature. I'm going to put 1 in at a time. Here's my first one. And my second one. That was 3. 4, 5, and now the 6th. Once again, I've got to get to the sides of this mixing bowl and get to the bottom with my spatula here. And I want to stay with this till it really becomes very light and fluffy, and it has a very pale yellow color. again, if you see me using higher speeds, it's really that's due to I want to move the video along so it's not so boring for you. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and just beat that a little bit longer. Okay. Now once you do that, got a tiny bit being stuck to my panel there. Okay, got it off. Okay. What you're going to need, your next is an extract. And go ahead and use a teaspoon of either anise, which is the licorice. If you don't like anise, then go ahead and use vanilla. That works really good. So I'm going to put that in at this time. Again, it's kind of traditional that we use anise in an Italian cookie, but not everybody likes that licorice taste. So again, just substitute it with vanilla. Okay? So we're going to beat that again. Okay. Now I'm going to slowly add my dry to my wet till everything kind of comes together, and I will show you what that looks like. And again, I'm moving it just a little at a time because I don't want flour all over the kitchen. Raise your speed when you start to see that your mixer is lagging a little bit. The rest of the flour in. I'm going to raise my speed, so I don't warn you about that sound. Okay. Now, you don't want to overbeat them, but you do want to make sure that, you know, you've got everything mixed well. So that's another reason why I really raise my speed. Okay, I'm going to take the excess off my paddle here and then set it aside. Okay. All right. Now, just to get to the sides. Now, this, you know, is going to be a wet dough. It will feel, you know, heavy. Your arm or your hand is going to feel it as you're mixing it. Okay, I have a little bit of flour left on the bottom, and I really want to make sure that I got it mixed. Okay, just to play it safe. Okay, so this is what the batter will look like. Now it will be a bit sticky, okay? I don't usually, you know, use, what was I going to say, handle it by hand too much. What you'll want to do is, and I just realized I forgot my baking pan, is that I do use a scoop rather than taking it out with a tablespoon. Okay, so let me, and I'm using a small scoop. Let me grab my pan. Okay, now I'm using parchment paper. You really don't have to oil your pan or grease it or spray it. So I'm going to just use parchment, okay? And I'm using a very small scoop, as you can see. And you want to really drop them by teaspoons. This is a little bit bigger than a teaspoon, but I really like the size that they come out, okay? Now, they are going to spread a little bit, but not too much. So just keep your cookies, you know, maybe an inch or inch and a half away. If you feel safe at 2 inches, then put them 2 inches apart. Now you're going to bake them at 350 degrees, and they're going to take you anywhere from 9 to 11 minutes. But do start watching your cookies. I like to watch mine around 6 or 7 minutes because, as you know, all our ovens set up so differently, and you don't want to over bake these cookies if they become very dry or very hard. So again, at 350, what I would suggest is when they come out of the oven, then of course you know that you'll want to set them on a cooling rack till you can actually frost them or glaze them, okay? So I'm going to set that aside. I'm also going to wash my hands quickly, being that I was handling raw eggs. Now, generally I get about 80 cookies out of this recipe. Here, I want to put this away. Okay, 80 cookies. Now, to make a frosting for it or a glaze, I would suggest to use about 3 3/4 of powdered sugar in a large bowl, or small bowl, I'm sorry, and anywhere from 5 to 6 tablespoons of milk. Now, if you don't have milk, don't want to use milk for whatever reason, you go ahead and use water. But you want it to the consistency of how thick or thin that you like it. I like mine about that thick. I hope you can see that. You might like it thicker, you might like it thinner. So just start putting your tablespoons of milk slowly. Keep stirring to get the lumps and bumps out of it, and decide what you feel is thick enough or thin enough. Now, when the cookies bake up, this is how they're going to turn out, okay? And you saw the size of the scoop that I used, okay? I got a little bit of coconut on that one. But anyway, they'll bake up a nice golden brown on the bottom. I hope you can see that. The top and the bottom have a hard bottom and a hard top. You will have some cracks on the top. That's fine. It's not going to affect the cookie or the taste or anything like that. And then what you'll want to do is to have a cooling rack or something set up where you can take the baked cookie. And I would suggest, I usually don't start putting the frosting or the glaze till the cookie is cool. I just dip it in, and then I take off the excess, okay? And then you'll need at least, I usually use a 7-ounce bag of the sweetened shredded coconut, and then I just put that coconut on top of it, and then I keep it on the tray till it hardens and it forms, so that I can then serve them or freeze them. And I do freeze them a lot, but I put them in Ziploc bags. You want airtight containers of any kind, and I find that I can freeze them for several months, and they're still very, very good cookies. But that's what they'll look like without the frosting or the glaze, okay? So now let me show you what they look like once they have been dipped, once they have settled down. And this is how they'll turn out. They make for just a beautiful little cookie. They really do. Also, if you want to use with instead of your vanilla, you know, you can use almond if you don't want the coloring of the traditional vanilla in the glaze. Okay, and this is how they'll turn out. You know, you've got a nice coating of that glaze, the powdered sugar milk glaze that's been hardened. You've got the coconut on top. You've got a nice golden brown on the bottom, okay? Then when you break the cookie open, you will then find a softer cookie. It's not heavy. It's not dense. These cookies are so light. They're light as air. They really are. And then I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'm just going to squeeze the cookie, and then you can see how moist and how fresh they are. I don't want to say that they're a semi-chewy cookie. You know, they're not crisp that you're going to hear them crack when you break them, but you're going to see how moist and how delicate these cookies are. At least I hope that you can see that as I'm squeezing this this cookie. And they're really great with a cup of cappuccino, or a cup of tea, or a cup of coffee, or gee, just with a glass of milk. They are just delicious cookies. I think they bake up just beautifully. It's an easy recipe. I think you're going to like this if you give it a try. If you do, leave a comment, because I really like to hear from you. I also want to suggest for you to solely watch my videos on YouTube, because that's the only place that I put my work at. And sorry to bore you, but I do mention it at every video. I no longer put the ingredients because people are taking my work, as they do so many other people on YouTube, and claiming them theirs and bringing them and posting them and pinning them. And yeah, what's so frustrating is that when you write to me or have a question or a comment, I can find it on my work on other sites, but I'm not able to answer you. So that's the reason I went through all of that. It's frustrating because I do like to hear from you when you write, and especially when you've tried the recipe, you liked it, and many of you have been so kind to share stories or family stories, how you made the cookie with your grandmother, or maybe you found this recipe after so many years. Whatever it might be, it is so nice to hear from you nice folks that take the time to write to me and talk about your family or traditions, or how this recipe might affect you, or whatever. It's very, very endearing to read my mail. It really is. So I can't thank you enough for watching my videos, taking the time to write me. I will try to answer in a timely manner. So if you're so inclined, please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like or ring the bell. That would be fantastic. So there we have it. We've got coconut Italian cookies. I think it's a good one. I think it's an easy recipe. I hope you try it. I hope you like it. And again, I want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. I'll see you soon.